You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Space. That time of week again, it's time for us to have Lou in from Wardini Books in Havelock North for the wonderful world of Wardini Books. How you going, Lou?
Really well, Ken. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm cold.
Yeah.
We're all rugged up.
We are. I've got two coats on.
Got the air conditioning on as well, and it's still cold. Anyway, you've been busy at work?
Yeah. It's school holidays, so there's
Great.
lots of families coming through, cracking away. It's
Awesome.
great.
3 more great books to review today, and the first one is called Friday, the Rebel Dog.
Yes, this is a picture book from Scholastic, and it's Susan Brocker, illustrated by Raymond McGrath. So what do you know about James Mackenzie?
James Mackenzie, he's hailed originally from Scotland, I do believe. His
That's
ancestors
true.
came from, yeah.
Yeah.
And his name is James, and his last name is Mackenzie.
And right. Well, let's educate ourselves. So this is Friday
Yes.
is, or was, James Mackenzie's dog. And so we're in what is now Mackenzie country because it's named for him.
Oh, of course.
But do you know what, Ken? He was a criminal. He was a
Was he?
sheep rustler.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. So it's a really cool story. And it is about, it's like one of these outlaw stories, like a Robin Hood.
Ned Kelly sort of thing.
Yeah, until you actually analyse it and think, he's a thief.
That's right.
But it starts with the collie dog slipping through the starlit night, and she can smell sheep in the valley. And there are about 1,000 sheep in this valley. And here are the beautifully named shepherds, who are Tycho and 17. 17 is his name. Perhaps he was the 17th child or something. And they're meant to be guarding the sheep, but they're playing cards.
Oh, right.
And this collie is so smart and
So
silent.
stealthy.
And here's James Mackenzie hiding in the bush there, and they manage to rustle like 1,000 sheep.
Oh, right.
And they take them through this valley and across a raging river. I'll show you the raging river because it's actually really quite terrifying. There are sheep bobbing around everywhere in the river. I'm not going to be able to find it now. Look at that.
Oh, it is raging.
They're like, yep. So, and it's going to rage more, so they have to get over it really quickly because the rain's coming. And then they decide, they know that they're being followed. Friday, the sheepdog, the rustler's sheepdog, can sense that they're being followed. And she has little sandals put on her paws, made from harakiki, because she gets sore, because they're traversing hundreds and hundreds of kilometres, and they're being chased. And they're captured at some point, like this, and they take James's boots off and they chuck him in the fire, and they tie Friday's paws together and sling her over the back of a horse. But she manages to distract them, and he runs off, and he escapes for ages. But they eventually track him down, and they find him. And how it ends up is that Friday is given like a bit of a pass, and she is sent to live out her days on, I think it's the guy whose sheep were originally stolen. It's his farm.
Such a good dog.
And Mackenzie says, well, you can take her because he's going to prison, but she'll never work for you. Or he. I think she is a girl. And she never does. Never works for them. Just sits on the porch waiting for Mackenzie to come back because she's so loyal to him. So that was a bit of a cracking story put together.
Did it have a happy ending? Did Mackenzie come back?
He escaped a couple of times and tried to go find his dog, but they always rounded him up, and I think he was eventually deported and sent back to Scotland in the end. So there's a bronze statue of James Mackenzie and his dog Friday, and it stands at the main street of Fairley, the gateway to the Mackenzie country. And I just think this was all in the 1800s. Yeah.
So they called it the Mackenzie country because he was such a daring rogue.
Yeah, he was a daring rogue, and he sort of travelled 160 kilometres to Littleton, where he was captured again 11 days after the original escape from John Sidebottom, who was the station overseer.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's just one of those real renegade stories.
Yeah, and a good Kiwi story too.
Good Kiwi story, true NZ story, and I like it that the dog is the focus of the story, because
Dog
why
is the
not?
hero, that's right, like Rin Tin Tin or Lassie. Yeah, do you remember them?
I remember Lassie.
Not Rin Tin Tin, they're too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you any stories.
Tell us all about the mystery of Henri Pic.
Henri Pic. This is by David Fuenquinos, perhaps.
Yes.
And it's translated from the French, and it is a curiously wonderful little story. So a young woman in Paris is a literary editor, and she's a good one. And she meets an author and publishes his book. His name is Frédéric, and they fall in love. His book is a big flop, but it was a good book.
Yes.
But anyway, they fall in love, and they go home to Crozon to see her parents. And while they're there, they visit a library, which is a curious sort of library. It's one in which people take their unpublished manuscripts. So if you cannot get your book published and it's your heart and soul, you take it and you leave it in this library. And it's sort of, you know, the library of rejected dreams sort of, sort of thing.
I love that line.
And it's been there for years, and Delphine decides that she's going to go and visit. And they find a manuscript there, and she thinks it's going to be the next big thing. But the mystery is that it is penned, allegedly, by Henri Pic, who was the pizza guy in the town, who never really spoke much and was never seen to read a book. So it's a great mystery. And his wife's like, nah, he wouldn't have written a book. But then comes round to the idea, and the book is published to massive success because it's a good book, but also because there's this massive hype around it because nobody knows who Henri Pic is. And then you've got all these little peripheral characters, like a journalist, who's a literary critic, and he's fallen from grace a little bit, but he thinks, no, this is the story. I'm going to find out who really wrote this book, because it's certainly not the flipping pizza guy. And so there's all these people investigating, and beautiful love stories, and how this manuscript coming to light changes everybody's life. The widow's life, the daughter's life, Delphine and Frédéric, and the lady that works in the library as well. I can't remember her name. She's got a really beautiful name. Never mind. Malagi or Managi or something like that. Anyway. Yeah, so it was just a really cracking, funny story with a proper little mystery and lots of lovely characters.
Spoiler, was it the pizza guy or not?
I'm not going to tell you. That would be a horrendous spoiler. Yeah.
And the last book we're going to look at today is Cows on Ice and Owls in the Bog.
Yeah, and this is The Weird and Wonderful World of Scandinavian Sayings. And there's no actual author, so I would imagine it's been put together by a few people. So I've picked out my favourites.
Excellent.
We might play a game and see if you can tell what they mean. So this is Swedish. I'm not going to try and say it in Swedish, because I think that would be just a terrible idea.
I've forgotten my Swedish.
So, caught with his beard in the letterbox.
Maybe being nosy?
It's sort of, the act of getting your beard caught in the letterbox is highly embarrassing, even more so because it is usually self-inflicted. So it's roughly equivalent to being caught with your hand in the cookie jar, or caught with your pants down.
Look at that. Yeah. Who wouldn't have known that?
Caught with his beard in the letterbox.
I'll say.
Now, I can't say this on family radio, so I will say, we're allowed to say CRAP, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
But it doesn't say that.
No.
So, to have a crap in the blue cupboard. And this is, pooping in any kind of cupboard might seem like an odd thing to do, yes?
Yes, it is
But
indeed.
in 19th century Sweden, defecating in a red cupboard was de rigueur. Commoners stored their chamber pots in cupboards painted red, since this was the cheapest paint colour. But blue, on the other hand, was an expensive hue, only used for the finest furniture. So if you go and crap in the blue cupboard, you've made a terrible, terrible mistake, because that's where all the good things are stored.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it's so someone who's made a fool of himself.
Yes, and no red cupboards.
Yeah.
Got another one?
Yeah, Danish, a delicious herring. So, picture the scene: a table at a romantic restaurant. An eager young chap prefers a diamond ring to his beloved and proposes. The lady beams and accepts, her hand thrust out. Overjoyed, he slips the ring onto her finger. "You have made me the happiest man alive, you delicious herring." It's one of the highest compliments you can bestow in Denmark.
Is it really? Look at that.
Yeah.
Call you good.
I've got several more, but we're probably out of time.
Go on, give us one more.
One more? Okay. Let me show you where a chicken pee's from. Okay. And this is Finnish. And this is, they're simply saying, let me show you how it's done. But they never explain it. So come to think of it, where does a chicken pea from? It's never really explained why that's a thing. But yeah, just every single one in the book is an absolute gem.
Indeed. Okay, now if we want any of these fabulous books, where do we get them?
Wardini Books, please. 44 Hastings Street, Napier, and 16 Tomato Road, Havelock North.
As always, our pleasure. You look after yourself. We'll talk to you same time, same place next time.
Marvellous. Thanks very much.